Welcome to Guns 101. This is our video welcome message for new gun owners. It's brought to you by the Self-Defense Radio Network. I'm Rob Morse from Self-Defense Gun Stories. My partners are Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie, and the guy behind the curtain doing the heavy tech lifting, that's Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. Yehuda Remer is with us today. He's a child's author. He's also the Pew Pew Jew. Wow. A lot of people said, I need a gun to be safe. There are a lot of steps between I gave a man money, I brought this box home, and now I've made my family safe. Yehuda, peel back the mystique that we've wrapped around firearms. What's reality look like?
Well, let's start off with the mystique of firearms, right? We all grew up watching, I'm going to date you guys a little more than me right now, but watching Dirty Harry and all these great movies with these heroes with big guns and heroes in the military, and obviously I have that too, but just had to throw that Dirty Harry line. But you have these near mythical creatures who are firing guns and looking cool doing it, and every kid is like, oh, I want to be that guy when I grow up. I want to have a gun. And then, you get your first dart gun, you get your first BB gun, and, you think you're cool. And obviously it is somewhat cool. But for kids who do not have firearms in their house or are around firearms or have never been introduced to real firearms, that idea of guns being mythical, being cool, just being, sleek and sexy and James Bond-esque, all they want to do is use the gun. They don't understand the detriments a gun have. And you need, as a gun owner, to take away that mystique and that cool factor and show the kids that guns are just tools.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's not just kids that do that. You and I have met people who thought they were safe because there was an unloaded gun in a cardboard box under their bed. Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. No, for sure. No, obviously, adults who are getting into firearms now, like we said earlier, that magic talisman mentality. But that they think, okay, you see it in the movies, people get a gun, all of a sudden they're safe. But clearly, there's so much more to that. I keep going back to the fact that, and I apologize if this sounds repetitive, but it's so key, and that's why I started off saying that it's probably the most important rule with guns for new gun owners now, that it's just a tool. And you can have a gun under your bed, unloaded, and think of it as a magic talisman, but it's not. So much damage can happen, and lives can be lost, and lives shattered because people do not take that safety precaution. They think these guns are these mystical tools, basically, that allow you to be safe. And with proper training and education, they do allow you to be safe. But otherwise, I find that it's almost more harm can be done if you buy a gun and don't educate or train.
Okay, that the people who were robbed of the chance to hang around the gun store enough to find out all the steps that they needed. When this quarantine is lifted, when they can come back and we can do the face-to-face conversations, Yehuda, would you break out all the little steps that you went through from between, out of curiosity, I bought my first gun, and there were, I'm going to guess, a half dozen classes between there and, now I finally feel like I'm competent when I carry a firearm in public. It is not one magic step.
Oh, God, no. I bought my first gun when I lived in Los Angeles. I hope no one holds that against me. I now live in Texas, just throwing that out there because I love freedom. Um, but when I bought my first gun, I kind of baptism of fire, right? I had a buddy of mine come to me and say, "Hey, man, do you want to go shooting?" And I'm like, "Okay." I had gun shooting once or twice before. But all of a sudden, like, we get to the range, and he, like, out of a movie, unravels like this leather thing, and there's like three ARs, four shotguns, bunch of pistols, and I'm like, "Oh my god, you're crazy! How did I not know? You were into this?" But I got the gun bug. I bought my first gun, and I lived in California still probably for about 3 years, 2 years, something like that, after buying my first gun. And when I started carrying a firearm, when I moved to Texas, I got my LTC. It was actually a very interesting process because I got it immediately. I started carrying immediately, but the idea of carrying around chambered terrified me. And I didn't grow up around firearms. I didn't have any real proper training except going to the range a billion times. So I didn't have any guidance on what to do. And it took me about a year and a half to 2 years of carrying my firearm with me without a round chambered until I did that. And what happened is I first started going like, oh, I have to run to Walmart, Walgreens, something like that. Like, okay, I'm going to carry with the round chambered. And then I got home and I immediately unloaded it. And obviously, some people would frown upon that, but I immediately unloaded it. Then it came to the point where, I would venture out a little farther with the firearm with a round in the chamber. But this entire process, I was going to ranges, I was talking to people, I was educating myself on the pros and cons and getting more familiar and more comfortable carrying a firearm. Now, I'm not going to say if you want, carrying a firearm with a round unchambered is a way to go. I'm actually vehemently against that. I think if you are carrying a firearm on you, you need to carry with a round in the chamber. Otherwise, it's a big paperweight. But there is a process. There is a step by step that you have to go through mentally. You have to prepare yourself that are you willing to use the firearm if need be? And if you are, then carrying carrying a firearm without a chambered round is pointless. And the more mental preparedness you get, the easier it becomes.
So even though we have a lot of new gun owners, and they're I don't want to say excited, but they need to learn how they want to have a gun to protect themselves and their family while all this is going on. There's still a lot of steps they need to take before they get to the point where they're probably comfortable enough to wear a gun in public, or to even show their spouse or their kids that there's a gun in the house, and this is how it's used, and people have to learn the fundamentals before they get to the point where they can start to I don't want to say effectively carry, to protect themselves. I did the same thing you did. I carried without a round in the chamber for quite a while before, because it was a new process. It was something weird for me to grasp onto. And I know that in the gun community, we like to poke fun at each other and shame each other for that. But that's I don't think we should be doing that with the new people these days, especially because we've got all these new people. We want to convert them into pro gun folks. So it's an interesting process for sure.
Yeah, like I said, it's a process. It really starts with being a mental process, and more than that, like you just said, Charlie, that before you talk to your spouse or your kids, I mean, like I said earlier, you don't hide it. The minute you buy a gun, you have a family meeting, and you talk about it. It's important to know that firearms are in the home. Children are naturally curious. It's one of those things that if you hide it, they will find it. Just like I know, I mean, I'll use the term Christmas presents, but we have them with Hanukkah presents as well. Your kids know you bought them a month, 2 months before, right? And they will do everything in their power to find the gifts before they're given or before they're wrapped. I mean, kids are just naturally curious like that. So if they're looking for something and all of a sudden they find a gun, Well, what do you think the kid's going to do if they have no, forget education about it, but if they're like, oh my god, there's a gun in the home. Chances
Right.
are
So
they're going to. Yeah, I'm saying.
sorry. Go.
Chances are, yeah. Chances are they're going to pick it up and look at it and finger on the trigger. But the first step is to say, kids, we have a gun in the home. If you want to see it, mom and dad are more than happy to show it to you. But all you have to do is ask. We don't want you touching it. It's important. It's a very hard concept to wrap your mind around. But at the end of the day, talking about it, taking away the mystique, that's how kids are going to be safe. That's also how people are going to be safe.
These are some great points. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm done. I'm good.
These are some great points that you made to take the mystique out of gun ownership for the new gun owners that we have here in the United States. We've been talking with Yehuda Remer, the Pew Pew Jew. You can find him on all of the social media platforms. My name is Charlie Cook. I'm from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. I have my co-host with me, Rob Morse from the Self-Defense Gun Stories, and we have Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. Please check out all of our shows and other shows on the Self-Defense Radio Network. That is sdrn.us. It is all of your pro-freedom podcasts in one place. And check out all of the videos that we have on the Polite Society Podcast YouTube channel that we are calling Guns 101 for all of the new gun owners that we have. Watch these and some more videos. Well, thank you very much.